The moment I turned into Willow Creek Lane, something felt off. My name is Ethan Caldwell, and I've lived in that house for 12 years. Same porch light, same cracked driveway, same old oak tree that drops leaves like clockwork every fall. But that evening, my driveway wasn't empty. There was a silver SUV parked right in front of my garage. And inside my house, through the living room window, I saw a movement. At first, I thought maybe my memory was playing tricks on me. Maybe a contractor. Maybe a mistake. Then I saw a woman I had never seen before walk across my kitchen like she owned it, carrying groceries. I froze. This has to be wrong, I muttered. I stepped out of my truck, heart already beating too fast. The front yard looked different. A small decorative fence had been added. My porch mat was gone, replaced with a new one. It said, "Home Sweet Home," but it wasn't mine. I walked up the steps, my hands shaking slightly, and unlocked the door. It didn't open. I tried again. Locked. That's when the door suddenly swung open from inside. A man stood there, late 30s. Calm. Too calm. He looked at me like I was the stranger. "Can I help you?" he asked. I blinked. "Yeah, I live here." He didn't even react. Just tilted his head slightly. "I think you've got the wrong address, man." For a second, I actually laughed, because it sounded insane. Then I saw her. Behind him. A woman in a dark maroon blazer, standing in my living room like she was inspecting property. Her eyes landed on me. Cold. Controlled. And then she said the words that didn't make sense in reality. "This is private property. You're trespassing." My breath stopped. I pointed at myself. "I'm trespassing? I've lived here for years." She didn't even flinch. "I'm Harper Whitlock, HOA president of Willow Creek Estates," she said. "This house was legally reassigned last week due to abandonment and noncompliance." Abandonment. Noncompliance. I felt my stomach drop. "That's impossible," I snapped. "I was literally here 2 days ago." The man inside shrugged. "We bought it fair and square." "Bought it from who?" Harper stepped closer now, pulling out a folder like she had rehearsed this moment. "From the HOA Emergency Property Control Clause." I stared at her. "You can't just take someone's house." She smiled slightly. "You'd be surprised what people don't read in their HOA agreement." That's when I saw more movement inside. Another woman. A child. Bags unpacked. Strangers. Living in my home. My voice cracked. "Get out of my house." Harper didn't move. "You need to leave before I call law enforcement for trespassing." For a second, I thought I was being pranked. But nothing about their faces looked like a joke. I pulled out my phone. "No, you know what? I'm calling the police right now." That's when she said something that froze me completely. "Go ahead, mister." She glanced at me like she didn't even know my name. I answered anyway. "Ethan Caldwell." She looked down at her folder again and smiled. "That's not the registered owner." Silence. The air felt like it disappeared from my lungs. "Excuse me," I whispered. She turned the folder toward me, and on the top page was my address, but a different name under it. Transferred owner, Nolan Graves. My heart dropped, because I had never heard that name in my life. And yet, somewhere inside my own house, someone had just turned on the TV like they were settling in for the night. I stood there staring at that paper like it might change if I blinked hard enough. "Nolan Graves." "Yeah," Harper said smoothly, noticing my confusion. "Ownership was transferred through HOA legal enforcement after repeated violations and unpaid assessments." "I have never missed a payment in my life," I snapped. She didn't argue. She just looked at me like I was inconvenient. Inside the house, the child laughed. That sound broke something in me. "That's my home," I said again, slower this time. "You can't just rewrite reality because of paperwork." Harper stepped outside now, closing the door behind her like she was ending a meeting. "You were notified multiple times," she said. "Certified mail. Final warning. Violation hearings." "I never received anything." She shrugged. "That's not our responsibility if you ignore HOA communication." My hands were shaking now. "This is insane," I muttered. That's when I noticed a second vehicle pulling up. Then another. Uniformed county inspector markings on the side. A man stepped out holding a clipboard. Harper turned slightly. "Perfect timing," she said. The inspector walked toward us calmly. Too calmly. "Is there a problem here?" he asked. I rushed forward. Yes, there is. These people are inside my house." He looked at the house, then at his clipboard, then at me. "I'm sorry," he said carefully, "but according to county records, this property is no longer under Ethan Caldwell." My ears rang. "No, that's not possible." He flipped the page. Transferred under HOA enforcement clause due to structural violations and non-response notices. I felt my legs go weak. Harper didn't even smile this time. She just watched me fall apart like she'd seen it before. You need to leave, she said again. Last warning. I looked at the house. My house. My memories were in that house. My father's old desk. My mother's kitchen plates. Everything. And strangers were inside eating dinner like it belonged to them. Something inside me snapped. I'm not leaving, I said quietly. Harper sighed like I was wasting her time. That's your choice. She pulled out her phone and said the words that changed everything. Then we proceed with enforcement. 2 minutes later, the front door opened again. But this time, it wasn't the strangers. It was 2 county deputies. And one of them looked at me and said, "Sir, you need to step away from the property immediately." I stared at them, at my house, at Harper standing behind them, and I realized something terrifying. This wasn't a misunderstanding. This was planned, and I had just walked straight into something much bigger than an HOA dispute. Something that wasn't supposed to be real. The deputy's voice was calm, but final. "Sir, last warning. Step away from the property." I didn't move. My eyes were locked on the front door of my own house, where strangers were still sitting inside, eating dinner like nothing was happening. Like my life didn't exist anymore. Harper Whitlock stood behind the deputies, arms crossed, completely composed. But something about her eyes had changed. Less confidence. More calculation. "I'm not leaving," I said again, this time lower. The deputy sighed and reached for his radio. That's when everything escalated. A black SUV pulled up behind the patrol car. No markings. No hesitation. 3 men stepped out. Plain clothes. One of them flashed a badge. "Federal investigator," he said. "Step aside." Harper's face twitched for the first time. Just a flicker. Not fear yet, but recognition. The investigator looked at me. "You're Ethan Caldwell?" "Yes," I said quickly. "That's my house." He raised a hand. "I know. That's why we're here." Harper exhaled slowly. "This is a civil HOA matter." "No," the agent interrupted. "It's not anymore." Silence dropped like a weight. He turned to the county inspector. "Show me the transfer file." The inspector hesitated, then handed it over. The agent flipped through it once, twice, then stopped. "This is fabricated," he said flatly. Harper's posture stiffened. "That's impossible. It's legally processed." The agent looked at her now. "Mrs. Whitlock, Nolan Graves doesn't exist." My stomach turned. "What?" I whispered. The agent turned the folder so I could see. And there it was. The new owner name. Nolan Graves. But the signature line. Just half a step. But the first crack was visible now. The agent continued. "We've been tracking unauthorized HOA property seizures across 3 counties. He looked directly at her. "And your name appears at the center of every single one." The words hit like a hammer. The deputy stepped aside. One of the plainclothes agents walked toward the house. "Everyone inside, step out now." The door opened. The strangers finally appeared. The man, the woman, the child. Confused. Scared. Not criminals. Just victims of the same lie. Harper suddenly spoke again, faster now. "You don't understand. This was HOA enforcement protocol. We were protecting community value." The agent cut her off. "No. You were laundering property through fake abandonment claims." My hands clenched. Everything I had lost in the last hour started to make sense. The locked door. The fake notices. The non-existent warnings. None of it was real. It was staged. Harper turned toward me now. For the first time, she didn't look in control. "You should have just complied," she said quietly. Something inside me snapped again. But before I could respond, the agent raised his hand. "Harper Whitlock, you are under arrest for fraud, identity manipulation, and illegal property transfer schemes." For a second, she didn't move. Then she laughed once. Small. Broken. Like she still couldn't believe she lost. "You think this ends with me?" she said. The cuffs clicked. And that sound, that was the first real peace I had felt all day. 3 days later, I stood in my living room again. Empty. Quiet. Mine. The locks had been changed back. The records restored. The strangers, relocated, protected, apologized to. Turns out they were moved into the house under temporary emergency housing authorization. A lie built on paperwork. A system nobody questioned until it collapsed. A knock came at the door. I opened it. The federal agent stood there again. "One more thing," he said. He handed me a file. Your name is clean. Property fully restored. I nodded slowly, but something still felt heavy. He paused before leaving. Mr. Caldwell, this wasn't isolated. She was part of a larger network. I looked at my house, at my life, at everything that almost disappeared overnight. I figured, I said quietly. He turned to leave, and I closed the door. Not because everything was perfect again, but because now I knew something worse than losing your home is realizing how easily it can be taken by people who smile while doing it.